When they try to break you, don't scream. When they lie on your name, don't explain. And when they plot your downfall, don't react. Rise. Let them wonder why you're so calm. Let them feel powerless in the silence you wear like a crown. Because true power doesn't scream, it watches, it plans, and then it wins. They'll poke at your pride, they'll try to press your buttons, and the first instinct? Defend your ego. Prove you're not the weak one. Prove you're not the one to mess with. But let me tell you this, protecting your ego might win the moment, but protecting your energy, that wins your future. Every time you argue to prove yourself right, you're spending a currency that isn't easily refunded. Your peace. Think about it. You walk into a room and someone throws shade at you, tries to belittle you in front of others. The ego, it rises up, itching to clap back, to sting louder. But your energy, it starts leaking the moment you step into their chaos. And chaos is contagious. You don't fight every dog that barks. Why? Because the lion doesn't respond to noise, it responds only to purpose. Imagine being at work. Your colleague constantly tries to outshine you by twisting facts or throwing you under the bus in meetings. You feel that fire build in your chest, right? But if you respond every time, you're drained, distracted, and dancing to their drumbeat. Instead, protect your energy, keep showing up, doing the work in excellence, and let your results speak louder than your reactions ever could. Sometimes in relationships too, ego gets louder than love. You want to have the last word. You want them to know they hurt you. But what's the cost? Nights of overthinking, days of anxiety, and months of holding on to emotional toxins just because you needed to win the argument. That's not power. That's slavery to your own ego. Let them think you didn't notice. Let them believe they had the upper hand. You're not losing. You're learning when to preserve your peace. Protecting your energy doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you choose what's worth your attention, your emotion, your reaction. You're no longer a puppet to provocation. Think of someone cutting you off in traffic. You can haunt, scream, and carry that rage all day. Or you can take a deep breath, play your favorite song, and remind yourself, I'm not giving a stranger the keys to my peace. Every time you react to nonsense, you're giving away a piece of your light. And baby, your light is sacred. You don't have to chase every insult or respond to every betrayal. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise. People who want to harm you don't actually want to defeat you. They want to drain you. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And the more you defend your ego, the more doors you open for them to enter your spirit. Start seeing your energy as a royal vault. Not everyone gets access. If someone's not uplifting, empowering, or inspiring you, they should have limited entry. You don't have to cut people off with drama. Just rise in silence and watch who can no longer reach your frequency. Because the moment you start guarding your energy like it's gold, your entire life upgrades. Ego seeks validation. Energy seeks elevation. Ego will get you applause. Energy will get you alignment. One burns out quick. The other builds you a fire that never dies. So, when you're tested, at home, at work, online, ask yourself, is this worth my energy or just my ego? That one question can save your whole day from emotional bankruptcy. Silence is often misunderstood. People think silence means surrender, that staying quiet means you're weak, powerless, or scared. But the truth? Silence is a calculated move. It's not the absence of a response. It's the presence of strength. It's not because you don't know what to say. It's because you know exactly what not to say. When someone tries to hurt you, when lies are whispered behind your back, or venom is spoken to your face, silence becomes your armor. Your calmness unsettles them more than any confrontation ever could. Think about it. You're at work and someone throws shade at you in front of the boss, trying to humiliate you to make themselves look better. You know what they did. You feel the heat in your chest. Every bone in your body wants to expose them. Clap back, make it known. But then you pause. You look at the situation, not through your emotions, but through your wisdom. You choose silence, not because you can't fight back, but because you know the truth always finds its way. And when it does, your dignity will speak louder than your defense ever could. Look at the people who constantly argue online, defending their name at every turn, replying to every critic. They look exhausted. They're always drained because they're fighting battles that silence would have already won. See, when you're truly powerful, you don't engage in every fight. You select your battles. And often, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Let's say you're in a relationship and your partner starts pulling away. Maybe they're playing games. You feel ignored, undervalued. The old you might have begged for answers, cried for validation, to try to fix what's already breaking. But now you've grown, you've learned. You stay silent, not out of fear, but out of self-respect. Because if they wanted clarity, they'd offer it. If they valued you, they wouldn't keep you guessing. Your silence is no longer silence. It's a declaration. I will not beg for love. I will not compete for attention. I will not explain my worth. When someone insults you, provokes you, disrespects you, your silence is a mirror. It forces them to look at their own reflection. It reveals their immaturity, their insecurity, their need for control. You don't need to validate their drama with a response. Your silence echoes louder than your words. It's the type of silence that doesn't just end conversations. It ends patterns. Even in friendships. Suppose someone you trusted suddenly switches up, gossiping behind your back, throwing subtle jabs. You hear about it, everyone's watching to see your reaction. But instead of confrontation, you retreat. Quietly, gracefully. You start pulling back your access. You start protecting your energy. You don't send a long text. You don't ask for explanations. You let silence do the talking. That silence doesn't create confusion. It creates respect. And people start realizing you don't tolerate nonsense. You outgrow it. Real queens, real warriors, real kings. They don't shout. They observe. They study. They protect their peace like royalty protects the throne. Because in a world where people are addicted to noise, silence is intimidating. It's rare, it's misunderstood, but it's powerful. People are not used to others who can sit still, respond with grace, and walk away without chaos. That's why your silence unsettles them. Because it forces them to confront themselves. And that's the one thing they're trying to avoid. There is a rare kind of power in those who can observe everything and still react to nothing. It's not indifference, it's not weakness. It's wisdom, matured through experience. Because when you reach a certain level of growth, you don't need to scream, prove, or defend. You watch. You study. You understand the game. And you learn how to win it without ever losing yourself in it. In a world where everyone reacts instantly, on impulse, out of insecurity, or from ego, the one who stays calm becomes the most dangerous one in the room. Imagine you're at a family gathering and a relative who always tries to get under your skin throws a subtle jab. Maybe they mock your job, your relationship status, or your life choices. Everyone looks at you, expecting a clap back. But instead, you smile. Not because you agree, but because you understand. You've seen this pattern before. You don't need to react. You're not here to educate people who are committed to misunderstanding you. So you observe, you store it, you rise above it. And in that moment, your silence makes them shrink. Because your non-reaction says more than any words ever could. Or think about being in a relationship where your partner is emotionally immature. They want to trigger you, test you, push your buttons, just to see you break. Maybe they bring up past mistakes or flirt with disrespect just to get a rise out of you. And the old version of you would have exploded, cried, begged, argued, but now you've evolved. You simply observe the behavior, analyze the motive, and ask yourself, is this someone who adds peace or chaos to my life? You're not reacting because you're not attached to convincing someone to treat you right. You're too focused on protecting your spirit. In the workplace, maybe your colleague tries to steal credit for your work or constantly interrupts you in meetings. You could call them out in the moment and cause a storm. Or you could watch, gather evidence, let them keep showing their true character while you quietly build credibility with your results. And when the time is right, when the truth becomes undeniable, you let your excellence expose everything. Because you were too busy rising to be distracted by reacting. This doesn't mean you allow disrespect. It means you outsmart it. You don't give people the blueprint to your emotions. You don't hand over control of your day to someone who doesn't even value your presence. That's why you observe, you collect patterns, not apologies. You notice tone, energy, consistency. You watch how people treat others, not just how they treat you. You pay attention to how they behave when they think you're not watching. That's how you outsmart them. You don't want it to do you up for nothing. You don't confront everything, because some things aren't worth bringing energy to. You simply adjust access. You let distance deliver the message. Even online, the temptation is always there to respond to hate, to correct misinformation, to defend your truth. But remember this, when they go low and you go silent, you're not ignoring the war, you're winning it on a battlefield they can't even reach. Because you're not trying to be understood by people who lack the capacity. You're not trying to correct every false narrative. You're letting your character speak. You're letting time speak. You're letting truth reveal itself. And when you move like that, when you observe everything and react to nothing, you become the kind of person who makes others uncomfortable, not by shouting, but by being completely unaffected. Because there is nothing more unnerving to a manipulator, a hater, or an insecure soul than someone who doesn't give them the reaction they crave. And in that stillness, in that pause, in that unshaken presence, you claim back your power, powerfully, completely, quietly. They expect you to crumble. They expect you to fall apart. Because when they hurt you, but what they didn't know is this: you don't show pain, you show progress. You don't post your breakdowns, you build breakthroughs. You don't explain what they did to you, you evolve so loud they hear your healing without you ever having to speak. You've got to understand, pain is part of life. People will hurt you, intentionally or unintentionally. You will get disappointed, betrayed, overlooked. But the real question is, what will you do with that pain? Will you carry it like chains, or will you use it as fuel to become someone they never saw coming? Imagine a woman in a toxic relationship. She gave her all. Loyalty, love, time. And in return, she got lies, gaslighting, and betrayal. She could have stayed stuck in tears, explaining to the world how much she was wronged. But instead, she took her pain and transformed it. She started working on herself. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. She started showing up differently. New energy, new peace, new purpose. People asked her what happened, and she just smiled. Because the truth was, she didn't get revenge. She got results. You don't owe anyone your pain. You don't owe the world a broadcast of your brokenness. Some things are meant to be healed in silence and revealed through success. When you're dealing with pain, maybe from loss, heartbreak, failure, you don't have to prove that you're hurting. You just need to prove that you're growing. Every day that you wake up and choose not to give up, not to fall into the same cycles, that's progress. And progress is power. Take the example of a student who failed an important exam. It was loud. The old version of him would have sulked, given up, disappeared. But not this time. This time he locked in, studied harder, asked for help, changed his routine. And when he came back with top scores in the next semester, he didn't post a revenge quote. He posted his certificate. That's how you show progress. Not by explaining the pain, but by elevating through it. Pain makes people curious. They want to see how broken you are. They want to measure your damage. But imagine disappointing them by showing up healed, happy, glowing. Imagine walking into a room where people expected you to be fragile, and instead they find you focused. That's the revenge they never saw coming. There's a girl who was mocked for her weight all her life. Bullied in school, laughed at in college. She used to cry behind closed doors, trying every diet, every fix. But one day, she stopped chasing quick solutions and started choosing self-love. She went silent on social media. No more sad posts, no more emotional breakdowns online. Just discipline, gym, mindset, sleep. And 6 months later, she walked into her reunion, not just physically transformed, but mentally unshakable. People were speechless. Because she didn't show pain, she showed progress. Even in the corporate world, when you get fired or let go unjustly, the instinct is to defend, to complain, but the smart ones, they rebuild. Quietly, they find a better job. They launch their own business. They level up. And one day, their former boss sees their name on a billboard, in an article, on a stage. That's the kind of glow that comes from pain turned into power. You're not here to explain your scars to people who never tried to stop your bleeding. You're here to let your healing be loud through your actions. Let the world see the new version of you and wonder how you got there. Don't tell them. Show them. Don't prove pain, prove progress. Because pain may be real, but so is your power to rise from it without saying a word. Healing isn't about pretending nothing happened. It's about refusing to let what happened control how you move forward. Too many people heal in pieces, scattered, shattered, clinging to fragments of strength while their spirit leaks silently. But real healing, it happens in power, not in rage, not in revenge, not in relapsing into old patterns. It happens when you rise, rebuild, and reclaim every broken part of you with dignity. Because healing in power doesn't mean you don't feel the pain. It means you own it, and then you outgrow it. Think of the woman who went through a heartbreak so deep it shook her to the core. He walked away, without closure, without explanation, leaving her drowning in questions. She could have broken down publicly, posted every tear on her feed, begged for clarity, but instead, she chose silence. She disappeared from social media, not to hide, but to heal. She started therapy, she journaled every day, she took solo walks, reconnected with herself. She unfollowed his energy, not just online, but emotionally. And when she came back, she was different. Her smile didn't seek validation anymore. Her silence wasn't sad. It was sacred. She healed, not in pieces, but in power. There's a man who lost his job after giving 10 loyal years to the same company. No warning, no gratitude, just a cold exit. The pain was real, the fear was intense. He had a family to feed. But instead of falling apart, blaming the system, or numbing the hurt, he took that pain and turned it into purpose. He started learning new skills, took up freelancing, built something from scratch. The same people who once dismissed him now invite him to speak at their panels. Because he didn't just move on, he rose up. That's what healing in power looks like. Or picture the young girl who was body shamed all her life by relatives, classmates, even people close to her. Their words became her mirror. She hated her reflection, tried every diet, every pill, nothing worked. One day, she looked in the mirror and said, "This isn't about them anymore. This is about me." She moved not to shrink, but to feel alive. She stopped letting the world define her beauty and started defining her own worth. She didn't post a before and after. She posted confidence. She stopped chasing approval and started commanding respect. That's healing in power. There are women walking through betrayal, through abandonment, through trauma, and still showing up every day. At work, for their children, for themselves. Not because they're not hurting, but because they refuse to let that hurt define them. Every time they choose peace over pettiness, growth over gossip, prayer over panic, that's not weakness. That's power. And sometimes healing in power looks like setting boundaries. Like saying no without guilt. Like walking away from people who still want access to the old you, even though they never respected the real you. It's hard, it's lonely, but it's sacred. Because healing isn't a performance, it's a personal revolution. You don't need to explain your process to anyone. You don't need to justify your distance, your silence, your glow up. Healing in power is quiet. It's sacred. It's choosing to rise even when your knees still shake. There's a girl out there who deleted his number, not because she stopped loving him, but because she started loving herself more. There's a boy who blocked the friend he once called brother, because that friendship had become a one-sided battle. They aren't bitter, they're better. Because they're healing in decisions, not delays. They're healing in alignment, not attachment. They're choosing peace over chaos, wholeness over temporary highs. That's what healing in power really looks like. Not perfection, not performance, but presence. The presence of strength. The presence of self. The presence of a soul that refuses to break twice over the same thing. There comes a moment in your life when you must decide, will you blow up in anger or glow up in silence? Because when people betray you, provoke you, insult you, and try to drag your spirit down, they're waiting for a reaction. They're watching to see if they still control your peace. But the real flex, the real power, is when you don't explode. You evolve. You glow up so hard, they question why they ever underestimated you in the first place. That's the kind of response they never see coming. Imagine this. You're in a relationship where the person you love starts disrespecting you, taking your loyalty for granted, flirting with others, testing your limits. Your heart breaks. But instead of crying to him, you rise for you. You rise for you. Your heart is broken. Your heart is hard. 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 Forget about spending Christmas with your spouse in the same hotel room. You don't blow up his phone with angry messages. You don't scream your worth into a void of silence. You glow up. You start showing up for yourself. Your nails look fresh. Your skin is glowing. Your peace is protected. Your mind gets sharper. Your circle gets smaller. Your standards get higher. He's left confused, not because you cursed him out, but because you leveled up without him. At work, your coworker tries to sabotage your project, spreads lies, takes credit, makes you look bad. You could blow up, storm into HR, cause drama, call them out publicly, but instead, you document everything. You stay focused. You get results. You build quiet alliances. And when promotion time comes, you're the one being called into the corner office. Because while they were busy plotting, you were busy glowing. Your professionalism spoke louder than their pettiness ever could. That's when you could make your fortune. Your professionalism spoke louder than their pettiness ever could. And it's not just about external glow, it's about internal peace. Picture a girl who was constantly bullied in school, called ugly, mocked for her clothes, laughed at for her weight. She could have carried that rage. She could have snapped back at every insult. But instead, she transformed the pain into passion. She started focusing on fitness, not for the world, but for her own strength. She started dressing for herself, speaking up for herself, surrounding herself with people who saw her. That's what happened to me. Not by bullying in her feet, but by suspending the narrative that she had to fit. not by bullying her feet, but by actually deciding to put power over mental frame structure and go for it. That's what happened. Years later, she walks into the same town, and those same bullies can't take their eyes off her, not just because she looks different, but because she walks different. That's the glow up they never expected. Sometimes glow ups are silent. The world doesn't need a notification. You don't have to announce every upgrade. Just be so deeply invested in your evolution that you stop explaining your transformation. So deep pandemics, why did they come about? Why did they come? What is your evolution? What is your passion? What is your purpose? That's the glow up they never expected. Sometimes glow ups are silent. The world doesn't need a notification. You don't have to announce every upgrade. Just the glow up they never expected. Sometimes glow ups are silent. The world doesn't need a notification. Your energy starts to change. You walk into rooms and people feel your light, even if they once tried to dim it. The people who ghosted you, now they watch you like a storyline they regret exiting. The ones who broke you, now they wonder how you're still blooming. Because you didn't throw tantrums, you threw away old versions of yourself. There's a woman who was cheated on, humiliated and left. Everyone expected her to become bitter. You expected to become bitter. Instead, she became better. She launched her own business, got into therapy, started glowing from the inside out. Her laughter came back, but deeper. Her eyes shined again, but with wisdom. She never spoke badly about him. She never revealed the hell she went through. But her glow said it all. Even online, people throw shade, leave hateful comments, try to cancel your joy. You could clap back, go live, rant for hours. But the real ones, they post their progress, not their pain. They let their consistency scream. Every new achievement becomes a quiet reminder that no one can dim a light that was built in darkness. To glow up means to outgrow, to evolve, to rise without resentment. It means you took everything that tried to break you and turned it into the foundation that built your higher self. While others were waiting for your meltdown, you were creating your breakthrough. That's the kind of glow that leaves people speechless. Not because of what you said, but because of who you've become. You were never meant to beg for peace. You were born to become it. You were never designed to chase validation. You were created to walk in your worth, with your head high, your spirit grounded, and your heart unshaken. Life will test you. People will provoke you. Pain will knock on your door, wearing different faces. Betrayal, silence, disappointment, disrespect. But every time you choose not to react and instead respond with wisdom, you are not losing a battle. You are mastering the war within. They thought breaking you would silence you. They thought hurting you would distract you. But what they never expected was your glow. Your silence became your power. Your stillness became your strategy. Your healing became your weapon. While they whispered your name in rooms full of envy, you were preparing your throne in rooms full of growth. You didn't need to fight them. You outgrew them. You didn't need to expose them. You elevated so high, their lies couldn't touch your truth. Because real queens don't argue. Real kings don't chase clowns. And real warriors don't scream. They rise. They transform. They become a storm of quiet confidence. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them feel the absence of your reaction and the weight of your elevation. You don't need to clap back. Your comeback is loud enough. The next time someone disrespects you, remember this. Your worth is not up for discussion. You don't have to remind them of who you are. You simply become someone they can no longer reach. The glow up isn't just physical. It's mental, emotional, spiritual. It's the moment you stop begging people to stay and start thanking God they left. It's when you no longer explain your silence because your peace is priceless. It's when your pain no longer screams because your progress whispers louder. Let your discipline become the revenge. Let your self-love become the healing. Let your focus become the force that silences every rumor, every insult, every person who thought you were done. And when they look at you, glowing, winning, shining, they ask, what happened to you? And you'll simply smile and say, I stopped reacting. I started rebuilding. There's no point in pitting yourself against it. You were destined. You don't need to announce your growth. Your presence will speak for itself. You don't need to prove your loyalty. Your absence will explain everything. People will remember how you carried yourself when they tried to tear you down. Let them remember the silence that screamed strength. Let them remember the glow that burned their lies. Let them remember the rise they never saw coming. You are not defined by what hurt you. You are not defined by what hurt you. You are defined by how you rose from it. Every betrayal was just a redirection. Every closed door was divine protection. Every rejection was a blessing in disguise. They may have broken your heart, but they could never touch your spirit. And that, right there, is your superpower. So protect your energy like it's your destiny, because it is. Guard your peace like it's your crown, because it is. And move like a storm, dressed in silence, powerful, unbothered, unshakable. This is your season to stop explaining your worth and start embodying it. To stop reacting to chaos and start responding with class. To stop waiting for justice and start creating joy. Your glow up is not to impress anyone. It's to remind yourself of the fire inside you that no one could extinguish. They wanted to break you. You became unbreakable. They wanted to silence you. You became unforgettable. They wanted to stop you. But you became unstoppable. And now, the world has no choice but to watch you shine.